Hello everyone and welcome to Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture, brought to you this week by the Mississippi Farm Bureau. On the show this time, we have a feature about a farm-to-school program that teaches kids about agriculture.
I'm looking at plants with the magnifying glass. See, and I can see seeds.
We take you on a trip with several volunteer leaders and farmers to Washington, D.C. to speak with their representatives in Congress.
This warms my heart to see this many good, friendly Mississippians coming to visit us, and we're always anxious to hear your thoughts on how federal legislation that's being considered in the Congress is going to affect our state.
Then we go to the state capitol for the annual Ag Day at the Capitol celebration.
In the last 4 years, we've consolidated 7. So we have 7 fewer districts today. Now, some of you sitting in the crowd are probably saying, well, 7 districts in 4 years, that ain't very good. I don't disagree with that.
And finally, we go to the annual Young Farmers and Ranchers Leadership Conference.
Your values drive everything that you do. So naturally, you're going to trust someone more if they share your values. You just assume that because you feel like I do, that you're going to make decisions like I would make.
Nancy Freeman will also be here to show you a tasty beef dish, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The modern farm depends on technology that allows crops to be grown in a way that protects our environment, including our vital water resources. Healthier animals and crops are the goal of professional farmers who use technology, improved practices, and chemicals that are safe for their produce, our environment, and consumers. It's the combined contributions of Mississippi farmers and their suppliers that continue to evolve the modern farm, ensuring a bright future for farming in Mississippi. The farm families of Mississippi, partners working together.
School districts across the country are bringing the farm to the school. Many schools are bringing local food into the cafeteria and teaching kids where that food comes from. These farm-to-school programs can benefit agricultural producers, local economies, school districts, and the environment. To many of us, watching a plant grow is nothing spectacular. In fact, it could be kind of boring. But to elementary school students, it can be fascinating.
I'm looking at plants with the magnifying glass. See, and I can see seeds.
You can see the seeds in there?
Yeah, they're yellowish. Sometimes they can be goldenish, but they're yellowish.
Parkway Elementary School in Tupelo is one of the many schools across the state that places a premium on teaching their kids about where their food comes from and why it's important to eat a healthy diet.
Our students have planted some plants along with the help of the high school baseball team, and we are watching that cauliflower and broccoli and kale grow, and then we'll gather that. But the event is also to help our children understand that the foods that we purchase when we go to the grocery store don't just appear there on those shelves, but that we have farmers in our state who grow those and who harvest those, and then we eat those and we grow healthy.
So on this day, the school invited farmers to come in and talk to the kids about what it's like to grow food for the public.
What our farmers are going to do today, all 450 of our children will rotate through 10 different stations with these farmers, and they actually have brought some products with them, and they will show them the whole process from planting to harvesting. And then at the lunchroom today, the farmers will be in there, and some of our children will get to eat lunch with them and eat the products that they've actually grown.
Randle Wright grows sweet potatoes in Vardaman, Mississippi.
I think it's good to come in and educate. A lot of kids, you know, don't ever have a chance to be on a farm or anything, so learning how to grow sweet potatoes and that they're good for you and what you can make, what you can do with a sweet potato, I think it's educational for them. We had some video clips we showed them of the process from planting to harvest, and we had some actual potatoes here we passed around for them to look at and hold, and actually, then we had some little miniature sweet potato pies that we give out to them to try.
And what was their favorite part?
Eating the sweet potato pie. We learned on the first group to wait till we got through with the presentation to give them the pies.
Gil Thompson is a vegetable farmer in the Mississippi Delta.
Some of the farmers come over and talk to the kids about, you know, the benefits of fresh vegetables, how we go about our business of providing them with those vegetables.
Are they curious about what you do?
Yeah, amazingly, they had some very good questions.
Yeah, like
very good questions, like what do you do for water? I thought that was an extremely good question from a first grader. How long did it take for the vegetables to be ready to harvest?
Sonny Young Baker is the co-lead of the Mississippi Farm to School Network that organizes these events to teach kids about eating healthy.
Even in Mississippi, which is the agriculture state, our kids do not know how food grows. So programs like this that get students connected to local farmers, that teach them how to grow foods in school gardens are really wonderful for the state, especially since we are suffering from some crazy health epidemics right now, mostly related to obesity and diet-related disease. So the more we can get kids excited about vegetables, the better we'll see our future.
So it's a win-win situation where kids learn about eating healthy and get to meet farmers and see how their food is produced. We'll be right back after this timeout. Stay with us.
Breakfast on the farm creates a lot of attention. That's because Mississippi farmers use best management practices to raise chickens that are healthy and provide a safe source of protein for their families and yours.
We provide feed and water in a clean, safe, healthy environment, because properly caring for our chickens is not only the smart thing to do, it's the right thing to do.
The farm families of Mississippi, professionals of the highest standards.
A group of over 75 Mississippi Farm Bureau members traveled to Washington, D.C. earlier this spring to learn more about the legislative process and to take their concerns to their members of Congress. Visiting Washington brings politics and rulemaking to life for Farm Bureau members and instills the importance of discussing these issues that are important to agriculture.
I think the number one reason that we do it is to let our elected officials and our policymakers here in Washington understand how important they are in the process and that we thank them for what they do. But we also give our producers and our members the chance to come up here and talk about their concerns and their issues back on their farms so they can understand the Farm Bureau's process that we do and watch it work and hopefully make a difference in their lives.
Newly elected American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duval echoed McCormick's sentiments.
We're a big Farm Bureau family, and of course when I'm here and the staff here is doing our work as part of the family, but when we have everybody else come in from across the country and reassure the people that work here and make policy, reassure them that they are their constituents, that they truly believe in our policy too, and it enforces the things that we do day in and day out here. So I can't tell you how important it is vital that our grassroots show up here.
The highlights of the trip included meetings with Mississippi's senators and representatives.
But this warms my heart to see this many good, friendly Mississippians coming to visit us, and we're always anxious to hear your thoughts on how federal legislation that's being considered in the Congress is going to affect our state, farmers and ranchers, people who live in small communities. It's been a pleasure to work over the years closely with your organization and your leaders and representatives who come up from time to time to make sure we understand the practical consequences of some of the regulations that are promulgated by the executive branch. We want to be sure we're up to date in every way, and you make us look good.
We're talking about energy on the Senate floor this week, and I think if we can get past a filibuster, we'll put an energy bill, House and Senate, Republican and Democratic energy bill on the president's desk for another accomplishment. We get accused on the radio and on some of the cable shows of not getting anything done in Washington. Well, you know, I'm frustrated by a lot of things we don't get done. I'm frustrated by a lot of things that have gotten passed and signed into law. But the truth of the matter is, in the last year, and I know many of you are happy about this because you bump up and down on the roads that we have to use. We've gotten a highway bill passed, and it provides for more money for infrastructure, groups like MDOT, and for other states. We do that without a tax increase. So more money for highways. We're getting a few things done, and I do think by Friday we will add to that an energy bill.
Congressman Trent Kelly is Mississippi's only member on the House Agriculture Committee. He has been hearing a lot from back home about the EPA's controversial Waters of the U.S. rule, or WOTUS.
WOTUS does not make any sense. A lot of the rows are very prohibitive. They have not been thought through, and a lot of times they're not even achieving any results other than to increase more fines for that agency to self-sustain itself financially. So I'm not for WOTUS in any shape, form, or fashion, and I think that we have to have regulation to make sure that people are complying. So I'm not saying no regulation, but it has to be reasonable and not excessive regulation, and quite frankly, WOTUS is excessive and unreasonable.
During another meeting, Farm Bureau members were able to speak with representatives of the EPA on a range of issues, including some high praise for Mississippi regarding the honeybee stewardship program that was created in the state.
I think it's particularly impressive because it was one of the first states to do that. There was only a couple other states that had worked on some state plans, North Dakota and Florida, I believe, and Colorado to some degree, but Mississippi, in my mind, did more as far as beekeepers and growers talking together. I think the bee flag, and I actually have one in my office, it was a really good idea. I really think that you guys have done a great job. Your brochure that I had one with me today, was very impressive. So yeah, we've looked to Mississippi as one of the leading examples for this whole plan.
Members from Mississippi brought several issues of concern that were very important to them.
WOTUS is one of the topics that we've asked about to see kind of where things are going. The other one would be the oilseed bills and the information around anything with oilseed and cotton, and to see where that information's at and how it's progressing. And then the third thing was insecticides, specifically the pesticide issues around transform, and to see what's happening with transform in cotton and in grain sorghum. And for Mississippi, obviously, because we're from Mississippi, but in the larger picture, as well as other states that need that product.
I want to know about cotton. I want to, know if it's going to be considered another oil seed, because if not, we're going to lose our gens, and once they're gone, they're gone. The trade agreement, that's kind of on a larger scale, but if it affects us, I want to understand how it works and why, if it's going to help the farmers, why anybody would be against it. To try to understand that. But those are a few things, and then I've learned a lot, of things that I didn't know concerned us, that all this shined a light on and that we need to study up on.
There were veterans on this trip who've been here many times, but there were also quite a few first-timers who got to see Farm Bureau at work.
It's really good because a lot of the first-time are the younger group that we got coming up here, and if we can get them engaged here, they'll be engaged back in Mississippi with their congressman and with Farm Bureau. It's very good to let them come up here and watch Farm Bureau work, to understand that what we do with Farm Bureau actually does work in the system, and that they mean something with their voice.
Farm Bureau is a grassroots organization where policy is generated from the county level through local Farm Bureau members. For this course of action to be successful, programs like this are essential. Dependence on agriculture knows no boundaries. Urban or rural, wealthy or poor, young or old, agriculture is the lifeline that supports us all. An understanding of agriculture is important to every citizen. The Mississippi Farm Bureau held its annual Ag Day at the Capitol recently to highlight the contributions that farmers and agriculture make to the state of Mississippi. For nearly a century, farmers and rural Mississippians have relied on Farm Bureau to be their voice in the halls of the Capitol building in Jackson. Over 100 farmers and other interested individuals from across the state filled the rotunda to show the legislature that agriculture is still Mississippi's most important industry. Farmers love the opportunity to come to Jackson and meet with their legislators to let them know about their concerns, but more importantly, to lend them support and let them know that Farm Bureau is here for them and to support them in the important work that they are doing for us in the legislature. After visiting legislators and touring the Capitol, a luncheon was held for the senators and representatives and other legislative employees at Galloway United Methodist Church. Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves was the featured speaker. He updated the crowd on bills that were currently being debated, including ones about improving public education in the state.
One of the ways in which we're trying to do that is through school district consolidation. When we came in, we had 152 school districts in Mississippi. In the last 4 years, we've consolidated 7 So we have 7 fewer districts today. Now some of you sitting in the crowd are probably saying, well, 7 districts in 4 years, that ain't very good. I don't disagree with that. Unless you consider in the 30 years prior to me becoming Lieutenant Governor, the Mississippi Legislature consolidated exactly 0. And so while they're difficult, while it's certainly very emotional for those who are getting consolidated, I want you to know that we're talking about consolidating administrations, not consolidating schools. The consolidation of schools ought to be a local decision, but having multiple superintendents in very small districts is not the most efficient use of your taxpayer dollars.
This annual event continues to be one of the most productive events that Farm Bureau holds each year. These are real farmers who live the farm life, feed the animals, grow the crops, and take care of the land. When these folks speak, the legislature listens. We'll have more of Voices of Agriculture right after these messages.
Here on my small farm, I grow lots of fruits and vegetables to sell to folks around this area. It's fresh, tasty, and I can grow a huge variety of crops.
I grow hundreds of acres of rice, soybeans, and corn to help feed livestock here in the U.S. and people all around the world.
Large and small farmers each provide a vital piece of the agriculture production system. We need all sizes of farms to meet this growing challenge. The farm families of Mississippi, feeding and clothing the world.
This farm has been in my family for over 60 years. I can truly say that my roots are firmly planted in the land and the legacy that my parents and grandparents have built here. I read a quote once that said, "Greatness is pursuing your passion every day." You might not understand the passion it takes to be up before the sun and fall into bed well after it sets. But I learned it from my parents, and I hope to pass it on to my children.
The farm families of Mississippi, pursuing passion every day.
The 2016 Young Farmers and Ranchers Leadership Conference was held recently in Memphis. This popular event gives these young people the chance to learn from each other and from the expert speakers that made presentations. The world-famous Peabody Hotel in Memphis was the site for this year's conference. The ever-popular March of the Peabody Ducks was a crowd favorite, especially since Farm Bureau President Mike McCormick was chosen to be the honorary duck master.
The Young Farmer and Rancher program is very beneficial for young producers like myself. It encourages involvement in Farm Bureau, and Farm Bureau really is a great voice for agriculture, so it encourages that kind of involvement. The best thing is just being able to meet people from around the state, networking with people, learning different trends and techniques as far as farmers, what other people are doing, and taking that back to my farm. And also I've seen some things that I never would have seen, just tours of facilities that I never would have been to on my own. And so it's just really been eye-opening as far as just being involved in the Young Farmer and Rancher program.
Allyson Perry with the Center for Food Integrity told the group that it's very important that there be a bond of trust between farmers and consumers.
Trust is everything. But if you think about the relationships you have with your family, with your spouse, all of those are built on trust. And all of those come from sort of a foundation of shared values. In other words, your values drive everything that you do. So naturally, you're going to trust someone more if they share your values. You just assume that because you feel like I do, that you're going to make decisions like I would make. Sometimes that centers around animal welfare, sometimes that centers around environmental policy or environmental practices. It could range anywhere from herbicide, pesticide use to antibiotics to GMOs.
Jim Wiesmeyer is the Senior Vice President of Informa Economics. He talked about farm policy, trade policy, and the potential outcome of the presidential election.
Farmers usually ask me what would be the impact if a particular person would be elected. If Hillary Clinton's the Democratic nominee and should win the White House, she's more of a status quo. We have a book on her. I think it would be similar to the way Democratic administrations have run the past few years. On the Republican side is where you have more of the variance. If Donald Trump were the Republican nominee and should he win the presidency, it's a blank slate. And I think most Americans would say that they just simply do not know. It's who he would pick to run the various departments, and especially in agriculture.
While at the conference, Billy and Cala Tabb, who were named the winners of the National Young Farmers and Ranchers Achievement Award in January, received the keys to their new GMC Yukon as first prize.
I can't tell you how proud we are of the Tabbs. I know y'all are as well. They are a shining example of what our Young Farmer and Rancher program is here in Mississippi. I feel like that we're all a family here, but we're proud of Billy and Cala, and I just want to thank them again for their participation in that. I hope it encourages some of you guys to be a part of that in the future as well.
It's overwhelming to have this in our honor, and we really appreciate it. I want to thank Arant with Chevrolet for the gifts we've received. I think everybody in here should have a lot of pride for the jobs that we do. We feed the nation, and we're pretty much the backbone of this country, and I think that's what matters. Cala and I, we went to Orlando after we won here at State, and we told our story, and it just resonated with the people, and I think we should all be proud about that, proud of our jobs and our families and what we do for this country.
Being involved with this conference and the YF&R program, like the Tabbs have been, has great benefits.
The great thing about the Young Farmer program is it encourages people like myself who are involved in agriculture. It encourages them to grow their leadership skills and to hopefully take those skills to the government, to local state governments, and help ensure the safety of agriculture and the safety of farming and ranching in our state.
In our Mississippi on the Menu segment, Nancy Freeman prepares a tasty beef dish.
Beef, it really is what's for dinner. On our family-owned farms here in Mississippi, and there's over 16,000 of them, we grow safe beef for your family as well as ours. This past year in 2015, beef brought in $448 million to our state's economy. So that's good business here in the state, as well as delicious meals for lots of Mississippi families. I've got a little bit something to show you special today. This is an old-fashioned chuck roast dinner. Now, you remember that, coming home and mama cooking or grandmother cooking. It's just a very simple, easy dish to make using a great cut of beef. I've got about a 3-pound chuck roast here, and chuck roast is economical, it's tender and delicious, but it best likes to be cooked in a moist way, and so we're going to add some moisture to this. But we start with a plain roast, and we're going to add some of our carrots, always a favorite to go with roast. Just scatter it around as you like. And then just a few potatoes in there will make a nice little flavor combination. Think about how nice it would be to come home to a hot roast dinner, and it's already simple and it's all in one dish. I love things that are one dish items. Now, our liquid that goes on the top of this is going to be a mixture of 1/3 cup of water. We're going to add 1/3 cup of a steak sauce. I happen to like A1 is the one I use, but use any that you particularly like. Ooh, we want to get it all out. And to this, we're going to add some onion and mushroom soup mix. Just pours right in there. You're going to stir this up. And then we just simply pour it on. So whether you're a novice cook or whether you are an experienced cook, this is a great family meal to have for your family. Good, economical, lean beef. Just pop it in the oven, bake it for a couple of hours, and you got it ready to go. Be sure and check us out at our website at growingmississippi.org or follow us on Facebook at Farm Families of Mississippi.
We invite you to learn more about Mississippi agriculture and its importance to your daily life. Visit growingmississippi.org. That's all the time we have for this edition of Voices of Agriculture. We hope you've enjoyed the show and will be with us again next time. For all of us here at the Mississippi Farm Bureau, thanks for watching.